So here at the finca we try to live as sustainable and eco-friendly as possible, so we thought we'd make a video to tell you our journey on how to be as close to off-grid as possible.
But wait, what does off-grid actually mean?
To live off-grid is a kind of life without a reliance on public utilities. The ordinary house is supplied by gas lines, water lines, and electricity from a local provider. To live off the grid means you are not dependent on these public providers to sustain yourself. The finca is almost completely off the grid. Water and Wi-Fi are the only two things that we really pay into the system for. So, how about we start with electricity? Electricity is solar. We have 8 solar panels that sustain a community of about 30 people. Luckily, the sun shines strongly most days and allows us to use electricity relatively normally. There are a few points on the finca where we have outlets. These are the internet cafe, the new office, and the kitchen. In total, we have about 30 outlets. And with so many people using the same charging points, it usually leads to what our German volunteers call
Cable Salad.
So generally between the hours of 12 p.m. and 6 a.m., there's no electricity on the finca. This means no light, and if your phone is dead, then good luck for the night. Most people carry around power banks as they come in super useful for those hours, or any time when you're not really around one of those outlet areas. But what about when we need electricity for building or cooking? How about I take you over to our specialist to answer that question? Okay, so Will.
Good morning.
Good morning. What is it like building on this finca with solar power?
Kind of pretty much the same as it is building anywhere else. The power's exactly the same. What comes out runs the machines. It's just fortunate here we're not connected to the grid. We're connected. We generate our own power with solar panels and generators. So we're not connected to these bad boys, although we live right underneath one of them.
Yeah,
That
the irony.
ain't got now to do with us. We don't need that. We're off grid. But it'd be nice in the future if we could do more. I want to see some hydropower on Tenerife.
Okay.
Being Scottish, I want to see some hydropower.
Okay.
I'm sure we could do something.
We'll ask for a donation.
Donations, we need lots of. We need a lot of water. Can people donate that? I mean, we're talking about the trillion gallons.
Yeah, we can
And
find
a big
that.
pump, a couple of big tanks.
We'll put it up on the Instagram story.
Yeah,
Someone
sure.
will give us something. Okay, so what's it like to run a kitchen on only solar power?
We run the stoves and the oven only with gas. We have some electric appliances. We have a blender, but we can only use it if the sun is actually out. And we wash our dishes by hand. We don't have a dishwasher or anything, so we can't have like large electric appliances. No dishwasher, and the stove has to be on gas. It's actually not that different than cooking in a normal kitchen, I guess. Dishwasher would be nice, but I guess we can do without.
We have 30 people. I think that's 30 dishwashers. Obviously, nobody has electricity in their rooms. Some people take candles, headlamps, or just use their phones to navigate at night. One really special part about the lack of electricity at night is the stars. We can see the Milky Way from the finca, and we even have a salvage telescope to stargaze whenever we want to. Sometimes the moon is bright and it dims the stars a little, but in exchange it creates an incredible shadow. It feels like someone is literally shining a torch behind you, but it's just the moon. Everyone who grew up in a city is astonished to see how clear their moon shadow is. New volunteers will walk around with their torches and headlamps, and after a few months you start to know every rock and groove on the finca. So even on the nights when the moon isn't out, you can walk home with your eyes closed. Next up, water. Water feeds the finca. We need it for our gardens, our volunteers, our animals, our everything. We receive agricultural water from the local Tenerife system, hence water being one of the only things that we pay into the system for. This water goes to our animals and our water waste system. Because water is so precious in this dry desert, we try to waste as little as possible. Water used for showers and the toilets goes through a journey of purification so that it can go back into the ground in our gardens. Our water journey starts in the toilet. With 30 volunteers working on the finca, there is a considerable amount of water flow that travels through the system. Now, a super important part of our water recycling system is that toilet paper is absolutely not permitted down the toilets. And here's why.
This is our poo bubbler that comes from our toilets, which are there. Smeagol, no, sometimes when it blocks up, when people put toilet paper in, Edu has to go in
and clean
it out. I'm not going any closer, I don't want to drop my phone in. So yeah, you enjoy that. I'm going back to the office.
In my first few days on the finca, I wasn't entirely aware of this rule. I stepped into the toilet on my first day and saw a big bold sign on the wall saying, "No toilet paper in the toilet." Coincidentally, I looked around the stall and sure enough, there was no toilet paper around. I figured this was just a part of the rustic living. Luckily, a few days later, I realized that there was toilet paper on the premises and I just had a coincidental misunderstanding. But anyways, let's keep following the water. After it journeys down the toilet pipe, it heads straight into the poo bubbler. This is a smart purification technique that pumps oxygen-rich air into the tank. This promotes the growth of bacteria and other microorganisms who are very happy to consume and digest the pollutants in the water. This aerobic treatment means that we are able to avoid harsh chemicals in the process of purification. After this step, the water travels through the constructed wetland, where layers of rock, sand, and the roots of the reeds absorb heavy minerals and purify the water even further. And finally, the water is collected and used to feed the gardens, and in turn, feed the volunteers, showing how our water system is a beautiful little cycle. Astor's permaculture dream is to make the finca into a food forest, which would be supplied by a recycled water system. Let's go talk to them about their plans for the finca. Why do you think being self-sustaining or off the grid is important?
Because it allows people to have more autonomy, more say in their lives, and also fosters mentalities of cooperation and a different relationship with the natural world. Because you're forced to live more in tandem with it.
And how do you plan on achieving this kind of lifestyle in the finca?
I'm planning on trying to get closer to that way of life by starting to plant fruit trees, trying to start a food forest, and trying to make the land more capable of holding water, either through swale systems as well as water retention, maybe cisterns, and maybe even catching water from the atmosphere in the warmer months through fogonets.
Cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Finally, human water. We receive our drinkable water from a local service. This is actually one of the biggest expenses of the finca. We recycle over 80 of our 8-liter water bottles and get them refilled every week. They're stored at the top of the finca, in the kitchen, and in the self-service. So luckily, even with 30 people, we're almost never short on water.
So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned a little bit and saw what it's like to live here on the finca and how we try to live as close to off the grid as possible. So as always, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell, and then you can see more videos like this. If you have any other ideas of what you'd like to learn or how we do compost, how we do a day in the life of the small animals, any ideas like this, let us know while Ella's still here and she'll make you some how-to videos. Comment them below. Thanks again as always. See you next week.